This might be some valuable information to some of you aspiring singer-songwriters. So I have a friend of mine who lives here in Nashville that I grew up with. I played in a band with his brother, but he's now a big music publisher for a very, very big rock star. I think he signed the rock star. Anyways, we ran into each other, we went out to dinner, we were chatting, and he's like, hey, why don't you come by the office and play me your catalog? I'd love to hear it. Oh, that's an honor, so sure, I'd love to do that. So I went down to his office a couple days later, and I brought all my songs, maybe not all, but a lot of my catalog, and I played it for him. And he said, okay, I'll take this, and this group of songs. And I was like, oh, weird, that's all the ones that have been covered already pretty much. And he goes, well, I can see why. And I said, well, what do you mean? And here's where the valuable information comes from. And he goes, well, the rest are artist songs. And I'm like, artist songs? And he's like, yeah. He goes, they're written from an artist perspective, not like a general can be covered by anybody perspective. And I said, huh, well, I was an artist for most of my career, so that makes sense. And I said, but what about these two songs I've got? I go, so-and-so told me, some big music dude told me that this is a #1 hit smash, and this other guy told me that this one should be cut. And he goes, yep, I can hear that. He goes, that would be a hit song if the artist himself wrote it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, if Dierks Bentley wrote that song, that would be a #1 song. And I'm like, so why don't we get it to Dierks Bentley? And he goes, well, because it'll be impossible to get him to cover it because he writes his own songs. And I'm like, not even to have a #1 song? And he's like, nah, it'd be really, really hard. I'm like, what about this other one? He says, Tim McGraw. Like, same thing. He's like, not that Tim writes his own songs, but trying to get him to cut that one would be really difficult because it's from an artist's perspective. So if the artist himself wrote it, it'd probably chart, but you might not be able to get him to cut it. And I was like, wow, this was like a revelation. So if you're a singer-songwriter and you're writing for only yourself, cool, no problem. But if you're a singer-songwriter and you want to write for yourself and other people, you got to think about, well, am I painting myself into a corner here? Am I writing with just one voice? Am I writing with one perspective? Or is my perspective too narrow to be covered by a wider group of artists who cover songs, right? Also, make them easy to sing. That's always a big plus. Hope that helps.